Practical Research 1. Identifying the inquiry and stating the problem. A. Writing the introduction, theoretical framework and conceptual framework of the research. When you conduct a study and write your research, one of the difficult parts is how to write your introduction. The introduction should give information as to what the study is all about. It should introduce the reader to the thesis topic. The introduction should present the scope and coverage of the study. It should show the existence of an unsatisfactory condition, a felt problem that needs a solution. The introduction is key to put the research study into perspective or context. It should be linked to the statement of the problem. You also include as part of the introduction, a background of the study. You may begin this section by setting the context for the problem through a historical background of the problem. In this part of the research, you need to provide information on how the problem arose and evolved. Here is an example of how the introduction of a research is written. This is a research conducted by my former students from Ahmadiyya National High School year 2019. Likewise, this research was also presented in the National Research Conference for Senior High School Students sponsored by the St. Louis University in Tuguegarao, Cagayan last March 2019. Title: Evaluation of Supplementary Feeding Program, SFP, for Corrector Daycare Center in Poblacion, City of General Trias, Cavite. Proponents: Shiain Rizdazadiba War, Clarence C. Bay, Diana Rose D. Rasa, and Meyer Grindel B. Perina. Advisor, Dr. Michelle M. Rusla. Introduction. Child nutrition in the Philippines has steadily improved over the last decade according to the Department of Health, 2018, but the number of underweight children 5 years and below remains prevalent at about 20%. Moreover, United Nations Children's Fund data shows that undernutrition affects more than 4 million Filipino children, resulting in physical and mental ability challenges. Local government units, NGOs, and private institutions have recognized these challenges and mobilized to combat chronic hunger and malnutrition in the hope of building a brighter future for the country's young. Calabarzon, Region 4A, is one of the 17 regions in the Philippines located in the southwestern part of the island of Luzon and has a total land area of 16,560 square kilometers. It is the second most densely populated region in the country, principally because it is the closest region to Metro Manila. Because of its proximity to Manila and the industrial and economic opportunities that exist there, Calabarzon is experiencing rapid urbanization. It has a total population of 14,774 as of 2015. Male equals 7,221,488, female equals 7,193,286, 0-14 years equals 4,327,032, 15-64 years equals 9,476,053, 65 years and over equals 611,689. According to FNRI-NNS, malnourished children in Calabarzon, Region 4A, have a prevalence of 19% in underweight, 27.7% in stunting, 7.6% in wasting and 5% in overweight, 2015. The city of General Trias registered a total population of 107,691 in 2000. From 66,837 in 1995, it increased by around 61.12% over a 5-year period. The present annual growth rate is 10% as compared to the past census year, with only 4.80% indicating that it has more than doubled in 5 years. The population is distributed in its 33 barangays and is considered to be 5.52% of the total provincial population of 2,063,161. It ranks 7th as to population size compared to the 3 cities and 19 municipalities comprising the province. The increasing growth rate is brought about by heavy in-migration due to expanding industrial activities and the booming residential and commercial subdivisions due to rapid urban development. In this study, an attempt has been made to uncover the associated underweight and severely underweight daycare children by evaluating the Supplemental Feeding Program, SFP, for Corregidor Daycare Center in Poblacion, City of General Trias, Cavite. In response to the malnutrition problem and to help achieve the Millennium Development Goal 1, MDG 1, of eradicating poverty and hunger, DSWD, in partnership with local government units, LGUs, implemented the feeding program, Supplementary Feeding Program, SFP, in year 2011. The feeding program aims to improve and sustain the nutritional status of target children beneficiaries and improve knowledge, attitude and practices of children, parents and caregivers through intensified nutrition and health education. It basically provides hot meals for 120 days to children enrolled in LGU-run child development centers, formerly known as daycare centers, and supervised neighborhood play. Under the program, DSWD was able to download a total of P242, 759, 227. 14 million to qualify partner LGUs in 2017. At present, DSWD implements the regular supplementary feeding program in all LGUs across the country to ensure that daycare children are able to consume nutritious food. Supplementary Feeding Program, SFP, is the provision of food in addition to the regular meals to children currently enrolled in the daycare centers as part of the DSWD's contribution to the Early Childhood Care and Development, ECCD, program of the government. Food supplementation is in the form of hot meals being served during break, snack time in the morning session or during break, snack time in the afternoon session to children in daycare centers, DCCs, and supervised neighborhood play, SMP. The feeding program is being managed by the parents based on a prepared meal cycle using available indigenous food supplies. Children beneficiaries are weighed at the start of the feeding period and 3 months thereafter. After the completion of 120 feeding days, the improvement in sustenance and the nutritional status of the beneficiaries will be determined. In school year 2018 to 2019 in Corregidor Day Care Center, there are a total of 28 enrolled children in the first session. Corregidor Day Care Center is where most of the enrolled children is severely underweight, wherein it has 4 underweight children and 1 of them is under severe underweight, while the rest of the class is normal in weight. Theoretical Framework. This section should present the different theories, models, paradigms, perspectives related to the variables, problem statement and hypothesis of the present study. The researcher, should test, confirm, validate, or verify the cited theories in other situations or attempt to formulate a new theory which will be their contribution to their field of specialization. The theoretical framework is very important because this serves as the anchor or blueprint of the research. In the absence of a theoretical framework, we can also use the legal framework as the basis of our research. Theoretical frameworks in research strengthen research in 3 important ways. It forms a frame of reference, it provides a general model for analysis of events, and it guides reflective decision making. Hoyen Charter, 2002. Theory gives practitioners the analytical tools and a frame of reference needed to sharpen and focus their analyses of the issues and problems at hand. Here is an example of a theoretical framework. This one is from my own research done year 2015. This research applied the systems and neoliberalism perspectives. Based on the social systems model, An institution is a system of social interaction. It is an organized whole comprising of interacting personalities bound together in an organic relationship. Waller, 1932. In this sense, the local government unit such as the Cavite province is an institution wherein when it started adopting the export-oriented industrialization and had several special economic zones, SEZ, established in the different areas of the province, these SEZ would have interacted with other personalities or entities in the province such as the local entrepreneurs, residents of the province, the LGU itself and the national government as well. There must be a healthy interaction among these actors or stakeholders to determine whether the program or project and a shift in the economic policy from import-oriented to an export-oriented industrialization can be considered successful. In applying the social systems model, establishing SEZ was a neoliberalist perspective. When the Philippines decided to adopt the export-oriented industrialization strategy through establishing several export processing zones, it opened the state to the global as well as to the international arena. By adopting this OI strategy, the Philippine government did follow and apply the neoliberal perspective. The Philippines adopted the OI strategy, the province of Cavite followed suit. Figure 1. Theoretical Framework, as adapted from Trainer, 2008. Based on the discussion above, the systems and neoliberalism perspectives were the appropriate paradigms to explain the extent of Cavite's SEZ locators. Linkage with the local economy as well as how the local firms responded to the establishment of special economic zones in their area. Please take note that when you include a theoretical framework, you should also explain why that specific theory is used in your own research. Conceptual Framework. The conceptual framework should be anchored on the theoretical framework. The conceptual and theoretical frameworks should be consistent and related. A paradigm of the study showing a diagram representation of the conceptual framework should be included in this section. It should depict in a more vivid way what the conceptual framework wants to convey. The details of the variables to be observed in the current study, the concepts defined, the operationalization of the variable concepts, and the scheme of measuring the variables should be well explained. I suggest, the use of the input process output or the IPO is best in making your conceptual framework. Here is an example of a conceptual framework. I also used here my own research conducted year 2015. There must also be an explanation on why or how that framework is going to be utilized when you write your conceptual framework as an integral part of your research. In this example, my research is about the special economic zones integration with the local economy, so here it is. Notice how I relate the theoretical framework with that of the conceptual framework. The prime objective of this research is to examine and analyze whether the locators inside the special economic zones in the province of Cavite are highly integrated with the local economy. By looking at this area, there could be an extensive evaluation if the province was able to maximize the benefits or opportunities that these economic zones provide to the LGU. Likewise, the result of the research provided some recommendations on the areas or provisions in the Republic Act No. 8748 that might be revised or amended, thus, improving the current law on SEZ in the Philippines. And evaluating if the locators inside the Special Economic Zones, SEZ, in Cavite Province are highly integrated with the local economy. This research used the evaluation models using the systems theory. Figure 2. Conceptual framework of the study. That is how I did my conceptual framework. Using the IPO model could give the readers a very good look at the flow of the research process. B. Formulating research questions. The problem should be stated both in general and in specific terms. The general statement of the problem is usually a reiteration of the title of the study. It should capture the dependent and independent variables, the audience to which the problem is significant, and the setting. The problem should be stated in the infinitive to such as examine, analyze, determine, measure, assess, evaluate, or find out. Specific questions should be stated using the guide question words, how, will, what, is there, etc. Here is an example of statement of the problem. This qualitative research was conducted by my former students from Ahmadiyya National High School Site 2018-2019. Likewise, this research was also an entry to the race competition on the same year. Title: The Coping Mechanisms of Persons with Disabilities, Personal Experiences of Physically Impaired Senior High School Students of Ahmadiyya National High School. Proponents: Joey Angelo Bibawag, Charan B. Costa, Jane Milson P. Dinglason, Lance Gabriel A. Garcia. Advisor: Dr. Michelle M. Rusla. Statement of the problem: This study aims to determine the coping mechanisms and personal experiences of physically impaired senior high school students at Ahmadiyya National High School. Specifically, it aims to answer the following questions. 1. Are there instances when the physically impaired senior high school students have experiences of being bullied? 2. How does their physical impairment affect their socialization with others? Notice that there are only 2 sub-questions since this research is done by the grade 11 senior high school students. But if it is for college research, having 3 to 4 sub-problems will do. The safe way is to have a minimum of 4 sub-problems when formulating your research questions. C. Indicating the scope and delimitations of the research. This section briefly explains the boundaries or coverage of the study in terms of the subjects, the study area, the research instrument, the time frame, the population or universe, and the issues to which the study is focused. It should also define the constraints or weaknesses which are not within the candidate's control and hence are not covered by the study. This part of the research is very helpful to the researcher, since in this section, the researcher, will be able to say the reasons why they were not able to get all the interviewees, or why they only got that amount of data. In relation to the previous example of study done by my former students, here is their scope of the study. The researchers interviewed a total of 5 students who are currently enrolled in senior high school, namely, Informant A, TVL Sisson, Informant B, TVL Sisson, Informant C, STEM Favila, Informant D, TVL Daza, and Informant E, Humsdella Rama. The personal experiences of the physically impaired students were also determined. The conversation mainly focused on their condition and the ways on how they dealt with it. The important roles of their family and friends in supporting them on their everyday life as a student. The interviews were conducted at Ahmadiyya National High School Bypass Road, G1, Ahmadiyya, Cavite. There is one informant who declined for the interview. In identifying your interviewees, as a researcher, you need to ask them if they are willing to participate with the study and if you could include their names in the study. In this research, the interviewees all agreed to have their names cited. However, for this module I opted to hide their names and just used the word informant in identifying them. D. Citing the benefits and significance of the research. This part of the research defines the research study's contribution to the academic field, to society, to a profession, to the community, or to a particular population. It must show who are the individuals, groups, or communities who may benefit on account of the study. It also explains why the study is unique and the benefits of its completion. Here is an example of how to write the significance of the study. Let us take the previous research as an example here. Example. Significance of the study. The study will be useful not only to physically impaired students but also for other physically impaired persons in understanding their situation, social life, and coping mechanisms. This research will give them idea on how physically impaired persons handle their condition. In addition, it will help their family members to be more aware of the student's condition. It will determine the challenges they are facing at school that reflect on their everyday life and the financial burden associated with health, education, and social services. Moreover, the community will also benefit in the study because it will provide new information about the present condition of physically impaired students. The research should be an eye-opener to the people, especially to the locals, so they can give the attention needed by the disabled persons concerning their social lives. The school itself, Ahmadiyya National High School, will gain information about the true picture of physically impaired senior high school students and may come up with an awareness program to help them. Furthermore, the study can be a basis for future research. It will strengthen their knowledge about the situation of some physically impaired students. The future researcher may replicate the study. Definition of terms. Another part of any research that should be included is the definition of terms. This section should include important or key terms that should be substantially and clearly defined according to how they are used in the study to facilitate understanding of the problem and avoid ambiguous meaning to terms which can be otherwise interpreted in different ways. The researcher should only define what is necessary, include only the terms, words, or phrases which have special or unique meanings in the study. Terms may be defined operationally, that is, based on observable characteristics and how they are used in the study, or, conceptually, that is, based on definitions taken from encyclopedias, books, magazines and newspaper articles, dictionaries, and other publications. Definitions taken from publications should be acknowledged. Definition should be as brief, clear, and unequivocal as possible. The terms defined should be arranged in alphabetical order and acronyms should always be spelled out fully, especially if it is not commonly known or if used for the first time.